There are moments in history when the past whispers its secrets hidden in crumbling ruins, buried beneath layers of time, or locked inside artifacts that seemed forever silent. For centuries, these ancient mysteries taunted us with questions no one could answer. How did the pyramids rise from the desert sands? What doomed the mighty city of Pompeii? Who built the enigmatic Nazca Lines, and why? The truth seemed lost to history until science stepped in. Today, we're diving into 25 astonishing cases where cutting-edge research peeled back the veil of time, solving riddles that once left experts scratching their heads. Picture this, a team of archaeologists dusting off a relic, not with brushes alone, but with lasers, DNA analysis, and satellite imaging. What was once guesswork is now precise, measurable fact. Take the Antikythera Mechanism, a 2,000-year-old device so advanced it was called the world's first computer. For decades, its purpose was a mystery, until modern X-ray technology revealed its intricate gears, designed to predict astronomical events with eerie accuracy. Or consider the Dead Sea Scrolls, fragments of ancient texts that seemed impossible to reconstruct. Thanks to multispectral imaging, scientists have pieced together lost passages, rewriting what we know about history's most influential manuscripts. This isn't just about satisfying curiosity, it's about rewriting the story of us. Every breakthrough pulls another thread from the tangled web of human history, showing how civilizations rose, fell, and left behind clues we're only now learning to read. From the sinking of Atlantis theories debunked by geology to the real reason the Maya Empire collapsed, each discovery proves one thing: science doesn't just solve mysteries, it brings the past back to life. And in this video, we're uncovering 25 of its most jaw-dropping revelations, each one a testament to human ingenuity's power to crack codes older than recorded time itself. Ready to see how the impossible became possible? Let's begin. Buried beneath the Mediterranean waves for 2,000 years, a corroded bronze relic sat unnoticed until sponge divers stumbled upon it off the coast of Greece in 1901. At first glance, it looked like a lump of rock until archaeologists noticed the unmistakable glint of gears. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, a device so advanced for its time that historians initially doubted it could be ancient. For nearly a century, its purpose remained locked inside those rusted fragments until 21st century science cracked the code. Using high-resolution X-ray tomography, researchers peered through layers of corrosion to reveal an astonishing network of precisely interlocking gears, some with teeth as small as a millimeter wide. Three-dimensional reconstructions showed this wasn't just a navigational tool. It was a celestial calculator capable of predicting solar eclipses, tracking the Olympic Games cycle, and modeling the erratic motions of planets as observed from Earth. What makes this discovery revolutionary isn't just its complexity, it's the timeline. Crafted around 80 BC, the Antikythera Mechanism predates any other known gear system by over 1,000 years. Imagine a world where most civilizations were still mapping stars with simple observatories, while Greek engineers built a handheld planetarium. The device even accounted for gravitational wobbles in the moon's orbit, a phenomenon formalized by Isaac Newton only in the 17th century. This level of engineering was thought impossible until the Renaissance, yet here it was, hidden in the wreckage of a Roman cargo ship. The implications rewrite our understanding of ancient innovation. Far from being crude predecessors, the Greeks had mechanical knowledge that vanished for millennia, lost when libraries burned or craftsmen died without passing on their secrets. The Antikythera Mechanism forces us to ask, what other advanced technologies slipped through history's cracks, and how many more might still lie undiscovered, waiting for science to shine a light on their forgotten brilliance? In a dimly lit library at Yale University rests one of history's most baffling puzzles, the Voynich Manuscript. This 15th century book, filled with looping, alien script and bizarre illustrations of non-existent plants, floating castles, and nude women bathing in green liquid, has defied translation for 600 years. Cryptographers, linguists, even wartime codebreakers have stared at its pages and walked away empty-handed. But in the last decade, artificial intelligence has stepped onto the battlefield, armed with algorithms that might finally crack this unreadable enigma. Early attempts to decipher the manuscript leaned on human intuition. Some believed it was an elaborate medieval hoax, while others insisted it held lost alchemical knowledge or even alien communication. Then came the machines. In 2017, a team of Canadian researchers fed the text into an AI trained to recognize patterns in hundreds of languages. The results were startling. The script showed structural similarities to Hebrew and other Semitic tongues, with words that might be alphagrams, letters rearranged in a fixed order. Another study suggested the manuscript could encode a vanishing language from Central Asia, one that left no other traces behind. But the real breakthrough came when scientists applied techniques from genetics. Just as DNA analysis reconstructs fragmented ancient genomes, AI began stitching together probable meanings from the manuscript's visual and textual clues. One theory now gaining traction: it might be a medico-botanical guide written in a deliberately obscured dialect, meant to protect herbal remedies or midwifery knowledge from prying eyes. The odd illustrations, those tubs of green liquid, could depict therapeutic baths, while the fantastical plants may symbolize their medicinal properties. What makes the Voynich Manuscript so tantalizing isn't just the mystery of its content, but the window it offers into how secrecy worked in the pre-modern world. If AI confirms its encoded knowledge, it would reveal a shadow history of science, one where discoveries were hidden not in labs, but in plain sight, disguised as nonsense. Every failed attempt to read it reminds us how much we still don't understand about the past's hidden corners. And as machine learning grows more sophisticated, this unassuming book might yet surrender its secrets, proving that even the most impenetrable codes are no match for the relentless march of science. Stretching across the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines have baffled explorers since the 1920s. Massive drawings etched into the desert floor, some stretching longer than a football field. From above, these geoglyphs form intricate shapes: a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a spider with perfectly proportioned legs, even a humanoid figure nicknamed the astronaut. For decades, researchers theorized about their purpose. Were they messages to the gods, alien landing strips? Then came the game changer. Satellite imagery and drone technology peeled back the layers of this ancient canvas, revealing secrets invisible to the naked eye. High-resolution scans uncovered dozens of previously unknown figures hidden under centuries of wind-blown dust: a sprawling orca, a dramatic pair of dancers, even a sinuous serpent coiled across the terrain. But the real revelation lay in the details. Advanced mapping showed these weren't just isolated artworks. They formed a network of ceremonial pathways, connecting ritual sites where ancient Nazca people may have processed during sacred events. Even more striking, many lines align with key astronomical events: the winter solstice sunset, the rising of certain stars, suggesting they doubled as a giant celestial calendar. What's truly mind-bending is the precision. The Nazca people crafted these designs without the benefit of flight, yet their proportions remain flawless when viewed from hundreds of feet in the air. Archaeologists now think they used simple tools, ropes, stakes, and careful measurement to scale up small models into desert-spanning masterpieces. Infrared photography even detected subtle depressions where workers may have removed darker surface stones to expose the lighter earth beneath, creating contrast visible from space. The most haunting question isn't how they made them, but why. Some researchers argue the lines mapped underground water sources, vital in this rainless region. Others point to skeletal remains found near the figures, hinting at ritual sacrifices tied to fertility or rainfall. but perhaps the most compelling theory connects them to the Nazca's view of the cosmos, not just as art, but as a bridge between earth and sky, where walking the lines might have been a form of prayer. As drones continue scanning the desert, who knows what other hidden messages from this lost civilization might still emerge, waiting for science to decode their whispers across the centuries. For centuries, the Shroud of Turin has ignited fierce debate. A single piece of linen bearing the ghostly imprint of a crucified man, revered by millions as the burial cloth of Jesus Christ. But science thrives on questions, not assumptions, and when researchers turned their tools on this sacred relic, the results sparked a controversy that still burns today. In the late 1980s, laboratories in Oxford, Zurich, and Arizona received tiny fabric samples for radiocarbon dating, a technique that measures the decay of carbon-14 to estimate age. The verdict: the shroud originated between 1260 and 1390, squarely in the medieval period. Case closed, it seemed, until scholars pointed out glaring inconsistencies. The tested samples came from a corner that showed signs of repair, possibly with threads added centuries after the shroud's creation. Worse, fire damage from a 1532 blaze could have skewed the carbon signature, making the cloth appear younger than it really was. Enter forensic science. High-resolution microscopes revealed pollen grains trapped in the fibers, some from plants native not to medieval Europe but to ancient Judea. Then there were the blood stains. Biochemists identified hemoglobin and compounds consistent with severe trauma, but also perplexing traces of artistic pigments like red ochre. The image itself deepened the mystery. It's not painted, but more like a scorch mark, as if created by a brief, intense burst of light. Skeptics argue the shroud is an elaborate medieval hoax, perhaps created using primitive photography techniques. Believers counter that no artist of the time could replicate the anatomical precision of the wounds, which align perfectly with Roman crucifixion practices. Even the weave of the fabric matches first-century textiles found near Jerusalem. The truth may lie somewhere in between, a genuine ancient artifact later altered or misinterpreted. What's undeniable is how this single piece of cloth forces us to confront the limits of science when history, faith, and mystery collide. Hidden in the dry caves near the Dead Sea for 2,000 years, the Dead Sea Scrolls emerged as one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Yet their most profound revelations only came decades later, thanks to a technological revolution. When these ancient Jewish texts were first unearthed in the 1940s and 50s, many were so fragile or darkened by age that scholars could barely decipher them. Some fragments crumbled at a touch, their secrets seemingly lost forever. But multispectral imaging, a technique originally developed for space exploration, changed everything. By photographing the scrolls under different wavelengths of light, researchers uncovered faded ink invisible to the naked eye, exposing entire passages thought to be gone. One stunning example came from the Genesis Apocryphon, a scroll so damaged it was nicknamed the pseudo-parchment because its text appeared hopelessly erased. Under infrared light, letters leaped back to life, revealing a previously unknown version of the Noah story, where the patriarch describes the scent of his ark's wood as like the fragrance of myrrh. Elsewhere, scans corrected centuries-old misreadings, such as a line in the Book of Psalms originally thought to say, "He will be like a tree," but which actually read, "He will be like light," reshaping interpretations of ancient Jewish theology. But preserving these treasures remains a race against time. The scrolls were written on animal skin and papyrus, materials that degrade with every moment exposed to modern air. Humidity, temperature shifts, even the oils on a researcher's fingertips can accelerate their decay. Conservationists now store them in climate-controlled vaults, handling them only with specialized gloves. Some fragments are so delicate they're examined solely through digital scans, a poignant reminder of how technology both rescues and replaces physical interaction with the past. Beyond correcting translations, the scrolls rewrite history itself. They contain versions of biblical books 1,000 years older than any previously known, showing how texts evolved before being standardized. Some passages align closely with later Christian writings, hinting at shared roots between early Judaism and Christianity, while others preserve vanished prayers and rituals. Every newly revealed letter is a time capsule, proving that even the most fragile relics can endure, not in stone or monuments, but in whispers of ink waiting for science to amplify their voice. Standing sentinel on a remote volcanic island in the Pacific, the towering stone figures of Easter Island have long been shrouded in mystery. How did a culture with no wheels or draft animals move these colossal statues, some weighing over 80 tons across miles of rugged terrain? For years, wild theories swirled, from alien intervention to lost superhuman strength. But science cut through the speculation with an elegant solution: the statue's walk. Archaeologists noticed something curious about abandoned moai scattered along ancient roads. They often lay face down, as if frozen mid-stride. This observation sparked the walking hypothesis, later confirmed by a remarkable experiment. Researchers carved a replica statue, attached ropes to it, and had teams rock it side to side in a careful, rhythmic motion. With each tilt, the statue inched forward, proving that small groups could walk these giants using nothing but coordinated effort and basic physics. Soil analysis along transport routes added further evidence, revealing compressed layers where repetitive foot traffic and statue movements had permanently altered the Earth. But the story of Easter Island isn't just about engineering marvels, it's a cautionary tale of ecological collapse. Pollen studies from lake sediments tell a grim story. The island was once lush with palm forests, but as the Rapa Nui people expanded statue production, deforestation accelerated. Without trees to anchor the soil, fertile land eroded, and without timber for fishing canoes, food supplies dwindled. By the time European explorers arrived in the 18th century, the civilization had fractured, its people struggling to survive on a barren landscape. The Moai's journey from quarry to coast, once seen as a mystical feat, now stands as a testament to human ingenuity and hubris. These silent stone witnesses remind us that even the grandest achievements carry consequences, and that civilizations rise and fall not by mythic forces, but by the choices they make with the resources they have. Science didn't just solve how the statues moved, it revealed why their footsteps echo as a warning across the centuries. Deep in the basement of Iraq's National Museum lies an object that shouldn't exist: a small clay jar, no larger than your hand, dating back to the Parthian Empire around 200 BC. Inside, a copper cylinder encases an iron rod, with traces of an acidic residue like vinegar or wine clinging to its walls. When archaeologists first pieced it together in the 1930s, they dubbed it the Baghdad Battery, sparking a debate that still electrifies historians today. Could this unassuming vessel be proof of ancient electricity? Replicas built by researchers revealed startling behavior filled with an electrolyte like grape juice. The jar produces around 1 volt of electricity, enough for a faint tingling sensation. Stack several together and you might power a small light. This discovery led to wild speculation. Were the Parthians electroplating gold onto silver centuries before modern science understood the process? Some point to gilded artifacts from the same era, their surfaces too thin and even for traditional mercury gilding. Others counter that no wires or electroplated objects have ever been found alongside these jars, leaving the theory tantalizing but unproven. Skeptics propose simpler explanations. The jar could have been a storage vessel for sacred scrolls, its iron rod merely a mounting point, the acidic residue. Perhaps spoiled wine or a fermented ritual offering. Yet the design feels intentional: the iron and copper separated by asphalt, an insulator preventing accidental discharge, exactly as a modern battery would. Even if its purpose remains unclear, the Baghdad Battery challenges our assumptions about technological timelines. What's undeniable is the ingenuity behind it. Whether it powered electroplating, held spiritual significance, or served some entirely forgotten function, this artifact reminds us that ancient innovation often defies easy categorization. Like the Antikythera Mechanism, it suggests flashes of advanced knowledge that flickered out before spreading lost chapters in humanity's endless experiment with the natural world. And just maybe, it hints at other batteries still buried in ruins, waiting to shock us with their secrets. Scattered across the jungles of Costa Rica, like marbles dropped by some forgotten giant, lie the enigmatic stone spheres of the Dikwis culture. Carved with uncanny precision between 300 and 1500 AD, these perfectly round artifacts, some as small as oranges, others taller than a person, have puzzled explorers since the 1930s. Early theories ranged from Atlantean relics to extraterrestrial toys, but modern technology is finally revealing their secrets. LiDAR scans, the same aerial mapping that uncovers lost cities beneath dense foliage, have exposed hundreds more spheres hidden under centuries of vegetation, arranged in patterns that defy coincidence. What's astonishing isn't just their number, but their geometry. Laser measurements show deviations of less than 2 millimeters in diameter, a precision rivaling modern machining. Without metal tools or written records, the Dikwis achieved near-perfect spheres using nothing but stone hammers and abrasives, likely shaping them by rolling larger rocks in concave stone sockets. Even more intriguing, clusters of spheres align with solstice sunrises and key stars, suggesting they functioned as celestial calendars or territorial markers. One famous group near Palma Sur forms a straight line pointing to magnetic north, while another arrangement mirrors the constellation Orion, echoing practices seen in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. But these silent sentinels bear scars of modern greed. Looters in the 1940s, hoping to find gold inside, dynamited dozens of spheres, irreparably shattering them. Others were dragged away by tractors to adorn government buildings or wealthy estates, severing them from their archaeological context. Today, protected as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the remaining spheres guard their deepest mysteries. Who were the Dikwis people who crafted them? With no deciphered writing system, their language and beliefs remain silent. Yet clues emerge from nearby sites: gold ornaments depicting shamanic transformations, ceremonial metatests carved with cosmic imagery, hinting at a culture that saw the spheres as conduits between earth and sky. The true purpose of these stones may be as layered as the jungle that hides them. Some researchers propose they marked elite burial sites or sacred spaces, their spherical shape symbolizing unity or celestial bodies. Others note their placement near riverbeds, suggesting practical roles in trade or water management. What's undeniable is their testament to a society that blended artistry, astronomy, and engineering with no outside influence. In a world obsessed with straight lines and right angles, the Dikwis chose perfection in curves, leaving behind a legacy that rolls through time, smooth, silent, and waiting for science to unravel their next secret. Buried in the parched sands of China's Taklamakan Desert, the Tarim mummies defy expectations at every turn. With their striking European features, high noses, fair hair, and intricate woolen clothing, they seem like visitors from another world misplaced by time. For decades, their origins sparked fierce debate. Were they lost travelers, remnants of Alexander the Great's army, or evidence of a forgotten migration? Then cutting-edge genetic analysis rewrote the story. DNA extracted from these remarkably preserved bodies revealed something astonishing. These individuals weren't just passing through. They belonged to an ancient population isolated for millennia, with ancestry tracing back to hunter-gatherers from the Eurasian steppes. Their preservation is nothing short of miraculous. The desert's dry air and salty soil halted decay, leaving skin, hair, and even eyelashes intact. One mummy, the so-called Beauty of Lulan, still wears a felt hat and finely woven cloak, dyed vibrant red and blue, colors that would have required trade networks stretching thousands of miles. Beside her, a basket holds grains of wheat, hinting at agricultural knowledge thought to have arrived in China much later. Even their tools tell a story: bronze knives with designs echoing those found in the Black Sea region, and horsehair bridles suggesting mastery of equestrian skills long before the Silk Road's golden age. What makes these mummies revolutionary isn't just their appearance, but what they reveal about cultural exchange. Their textiles, woven in twill patterns identical to those of ancient Celtic burials in Europe, suggest a shared craftsmanship tradition spanning continents. Yet their language, vanished without written records, remains a mystery. Some scholars believe they spoke Tocharian, a long-extinct Indo-European tongue found in Buddhist manuscripts from the region. Others argue their isolation created a unique dialect, lost when they were absorbed by neighboring peoples. The implications shatter old assumptions about East-West contact. These weren't wanderers who strayed off course, they were pioneers, thriving in one of Earth's harshest environments centuries before the Han Dynasty opened the Silk Road. Their graves, marked by wooden poles resembling oars, perhaps symbolic of a river their ancestors crossed, whisper of journeys we're only beginning to map. As geneticists analyze more samples, each strand of DNA pulls back another layer of the Tarim Basin's forgotten history, proving that humanity's story was never as simple as separate chapters. It was always a tangled, interconnected epic written in threads of wool, strokes of bronze, and now, thanks to science, the unerring code of our genes. High above the city of Cusco, the Incas built a fortress that defies logic: Sacsayhuaman, where stone blocks weighing up to 300 tons fit together so precisely that not even a razor blade can slip between them. For centuries, theories about its construction ranged from divine intervention to extraterrestrial help, but modern science is revealing the astonishing truth. The Incas were master engineers with techniques we're only now beginning to understand. Mineralogical studies have uncovered the secret behind those seamless joints. The stones aren't just carved, they're shaped using a method called reverse pounding. Workers identified natural fracture lines in the rock, then pounded them with harder stones to split them along these weak points, minimizing effort. Next came the real genius: trial fitting. Using clay models, they mapped each block's position, then painstakingly adjusted the stones by rubbing them together with sand as an abrasive, creating those iconic interlocking curves. Laser scans show microscopic striations on the rock faces, proof of this deliberate grinding process, but the real game changer: construction simulations. Engineers recreated Inca techniques using virtual models, revealing how ramps, ropes, and pivots could move massive stones without wheels or pulleys. One experiment showed that a team of 40 could pivot a 100-ton block into place using nothing but wooden levers and rounded stone rollers. The Incas even exploited natural slopes, dragging stones downhill to reduce labor, a detail confirmed by wear patterns on nearby bedrock. As for the ancient alien theories, physics debunks them thoroughly. The irregular shapes actually make the walls more earthquake-resistant than perfect rectangles, as the interlocking design absorbs shocks. Traces of temporary mud mortar found in crevices prove humans, not otherworldly beings, adjusted the stones over time. Even the myth of melting rocks with mysterious plants collapses under scrutiny. Geologists point out that the andesite stone used softens slightly when wet, making it easier to shape with simple tools. What's truly humbling isn't just the precision, but the purpose. Sacsayhuaman wasn't just a fortress, it was a celestial calendar. Key walls align with solstices, and shadows cast by the stones marked planting seasons. Every curve served both engineering and astronomy, a testament to a culture that saw no divide between science and spirituality. The stones don't whisper of alien visitors. They echo with the sweat and brilliance of thousands of Inca masons, their legacy locked in rock, waiting for us to decode it. Discovered in 1908 amid the ruins of Crete's Minoan palace of Phaistos, this clay disc barely 15 centimeters across has taunted linguists for over a century. Its surface spirals with 45 distinct symbols, stamped in precise sequences that seem to beg for translation, yet no other artifact like it has ever been found. Is it an ancient prayer, a trader's inventory, or something far more mysterious? Modern science is throwing computational power at the puzzle, revealing patterns that hint at a system far more sophisticated than anyone expected. Algorithms designed to crack unknown languages have dissected the disk's 242 symbols, searching for hidden rules. One breakthrough came when researchers noticed certain symbols clustered like prefixes or suffixes, a hallmark of grammatical structure. Machine learning models trained on linear A and B, later Minoan scripts, detected faint similarities, suggesting the disk might represent a bridge between ritual symbols and true writing. Some sequences repeat in ways reminiscent of chants or invocations, fueling theories that it encoded sacred hymns for ceremonial use, yet the disk's isolation deepens the intrigue. No other examples of its script exist, and the symbols, from helmeted heads to bees and boats, appear nowhere else in Minoan art. X-ray scans confirm it wasn't a one-off practice piece. The clay was carefully selected and fired with intentional craftsmanship. One radical hypothesis proposes it wasn't meant to be read at all, but instead served as a tactile ritual object, its symbols meant to be traced by fingers during ceremonies. What's undeniable is its precision. The symbols weren't carved but stamped with individual seals, making the Phaistos disk the earliest known example of movable type, a technology not reinvented for another 3,000 years. This lone artifact forces us to reconsider the boundaries between art, ritual, and communication in the ancient world. Every failed decryption is a reminder that some codes resist even our most advanced tools, holding their secrets tight across millennia. For 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza guarded its secrets behind walls of limestone until a revolutionary technology peered through stone like it was made of glass. In 2017, scientists announced the discovery of a cavernous space above the Grand Gallery, dubbed the Big Void, using a technique straight out of science fiction, muon radiography. These subatomic particles, born from cosmic rays colliding with Earth's atmosphere, pass effortlessly through solid rock but leave detectable traces in empty spaces. By placing muon detectors deep inside the pyramid's corridors, researchers created an X-ray vision effect, revealing voids no explorer had ever seen. But why would builders leave such enormous gaps within the pyramid's heart? One leading theory points to construction logistics. The newly discovered void aligns with the proposed path of an internal ramp, a clever system that may have allowed workers to haul massive blocks upward without traditional external ramps, which would have consumed impossible amounts of material. Other scans show networks of smaller voids, possibly stress-relieving chambers to distribute the pyramid's crushing weight. Yet the sheer scale of the Big Void, nearly 100 feet long, hints at something more symbolic. Could it be a sealed ritual space designed to align with celestial events? Infrared scans reveal temperature anomalies in its vicinity, suggesting different materials or air currents that might support this idea. The intrigue deepens with each scan. Another hidden corridor, detected in 2023 near the pyramid's original entrance, curves mysteriously toward the interior. Its purpose remains unclear. Some speculate it shielded ceremonial artifacts, while others argue it's an architectural trick to redirect weight from the entrance. What's certain is that these discoveries dismantle old assumptions about the pyramid being just a simple tomb. The precision of its hidden geometry mirrors celestial patterns. The Big Void's position aligns with Orion's belt stars as they appeared in 2500 BC. As muon technology improves, researchers anticipate even more revelations. future scans could map the void's contents without drilling, using upgraded detectors that differentiate between empty space and organic materials. Every particle that pierces the pyramid's skin whispers a truth. This isn't just a monument to death, but a labyrinth of engineering genius and cosmic ambition. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes the Great Pyramid's greatest secrets aren't hidden in its chambers, but in the spaces between them where science and ancient wisdom collide. Carved into the walls of Egypt's Dendera Temple, a series of cryptic reliefs have sparked debates that sound straight out of a sci-fi novel. One panel in particular shows a priest holding what looks eerily like a modern light bulb, a glass bulb enclosing a writhing snake attached to a cable that trails into a box. To believers in ancient advanced technology, it's clear evidence the Egyptians harnessed electricity. But mainstream Egyptologists dismiss this as pure fantasy, insisting the scene depicts a well-known religious symbol, the creation myth of a snake emerging from a lotus flower. So who's right? Science has stepped in to test both theories, with results that blur the line between myth and possibility. First, let's dissect the traditional interpretation. The serpent in the bulb closely resembles the god Harsomptis, often shown as a snake born from a lotus, a symbol of rebirth tied to the Osiris myth. The cable mirrors the tendrils of the lotus stem, while the box resembles ceremonial pedestals found throughout Egyptian art. Context matters here. The relief sits among astronomical scenes, suggesting celestial rather than technological symbolism. Even the temple's ceiling features a detailed zodiac, reinforcing the sacred, not scientific, nature of these carvings. But the light bulb theory refuses to fade quietly. Engineers have built replicas based on the relief, pairing the Baghdad Battery's design with the Dendera imagery. When filled with an electrolyte, these models produce a faint glow enough to illuminate a small space. Skeptics counter that no wires, sockets, or other electrical artifacts have ever been found in Egypt, and the bulb's shape matches known ritual vessels for holding sacred snakes. Yet intriguingly, the temple's underground chambers show no soot marks from torches, a detail often cited as evidence of alternative lighting. The truth may lie in a fascinating middle ground. Some researchers propose the relief represents a form of electroplating, a process the Egyptians could have stumbled upon while gilding statues with natural batteries. Others suggest it's a case of symbolic convergence, the lotus snake motif coincidentally resembling technology far beyond its time. What's undeniable is how this single carving captures humanity's endless drive to reinterpret the past through the lens of the present. Whether prayer or power source, the Dendera relief reminds us that ancient art often holds multiple truths waiting for us to shine the right light on them. Beneath a quiet field in West Dunbartonshire, Scotland, lies a 5,000-year-old riddle carved into rock, the Cochno stone. This massive sandstone slab, stretching over 13 meters, is etched with swirling cup marks, concentric circles, and mysterious geometric patterns that have baffled researchers since its discovery in 1887. For decades, theories about its purpose ranged from prehistoric star charts to territorial boundary markers until modern laser scanning technology peeled back the layers of time, revealing details invisible to the naked eye. High-resolution 3D mapping uncovered something astonishing. The depth and precision of the carvings weren't random. Certain cup marks aligned in patterns mirroring constellations like Orion and the Pleiades, suggesting the stone might have served as a celestial calendar or astronomical guide. Other sections showed repeated spiral motifs, nearly identical to symbols found in Neolithic burial sites across Europe, possibly representing life, death, and rebirth in ancient cosmologies. Archaeologists even detected faint traces of colored pigments in the grooves, hinting that this wasn't just a functional object, but a vibrant, painted centerpiece of ritual or storytelling. Yet the most surprising twist came in 1965 when researchers made a controversial decision. they reburied the stone to protect it from vandalism and weathering. This act preserved the carvings but left their secrets locked underground until recently. Using ground-penetrating radar and photogrammetry, scientists now study the stone without disturbing it, creating digital twins that allow global collaboration. Some researchers argue the symbols encode sacred geography, marking ley lines or underground water sources. Others see them as a communal art project, with generations adding their own marks over centuries. What makes the Kochno stone so compelling isn't just its age, but its silence. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform, these carvings belong to a culture with no deciphered written record. They're a voice from the dark before history, before writing, yet unmistakably reaching for meaning. Every scan, every pixel of data brings us closer to understanding how Neolithic people saw their world, not as a random place, but as a cosmos etched in stone, where earth and sky were threads in the same vast tapestry. And for now, the stone sleeps beneath its grassy blanket, keeping its stories safe until science can fully listen. Hidden beneath the rolling hills of Zhejiang, China, the Longyu Caves have puzzled archaeologists since their accidental discovery in 1992. Carved by hand over 2,000 years ago, this sprawling underground network spans 30,000 square meters, yet no historical record mentions their construction. Recent laser scans peeled back the mystery, revealing astonishing precision in the quarrying. Each chamber boasts walls striated with uniform, parallel chisel marks, angled at exactly 60 degrees, proof of an organized workforce using standardized tools. Even more striking, the ceilings arch with mathematical consistency, engineered to distribute weight and prevent collapse, while ventilation shafts align with hidden fissures in the rock, channeling fresh air silently through the labyrinth. Were these caves a secret refuge from war, a royal quarry, or something more spiritual? The absence of soot marks suggests they weren't inhabited long-term, while symbolic carvings of fish and birds hint at ritual significance, perhaps as an echo-filled gateway to the underworld. Half a world away, Turkey's Derinkuyu underground city whispers a different story. Reaching 18 stories deep, this 2,800-year-old marvel housed 20,000 people during invasions. LiDAR scans expose its genius. Vertical ventilation shafts plunge 170 meters, ensuring fresh air reaches even the deepest chambers, while massive circular stone doors, each weighing half a ton, could seal off entire sections in seconds. Unlike Longyu's smooth walls, Derinkuyu's surfaces showed tool variations, suggesting generations expanded it over centuries. The presence of stables, wineries, and chapels transforms this from a mere hideout to a self-sustaining metropolis beneath the earth. What unites these sites is their defiance of simple explanation. Longyu's pristine symmetry contrasts with Derinkuyu's lived-in complexity, yet both required geological savvy. Constructors exploited natural faults to minimize labor while avoiding collapse. Their true purpose may lie in duality. Derinkuyu's Christian frescoes adorn walls near pagan symbols, and Longyu's acoustics amplify chants eerily, suggesting spaces where survival and worship intertwined. Modern scans now map hidden passages in both, teasing the possibility that these underground worlds connect to even grander networks waiting for science to illuminate their darkest corners. Nestled high in the mountains of China's Bayanhar region, the tale of the Dropa stones reads like a script from a lost episode of The X-Files. According to a story that surfaced in the 1960s, a Chinese archaeologist named Kai Pu-Te allegedly discovered 716 stone discs in a remote cave in 1938, each riddled with tiny spiral grooves that, when magnified, revealed an astonishing secret, a language describing beings called the Dropa, who crashed their spacecraft 12,000 years ago and were stranded on Earth. The cave walls supposedly held bizarre skeletal remains with oversized skulls, fueling claims of ancient alien contact. It's the kind of story that makes conspiracy theorists' hearts race, except for one glaring problem. Modern science has dismantled nearly every piece of the narrative, revealing how myths take root when facts go unchecked. First, the stones themselves. When researchers finally got their hands on alleged fragments, material analysis told a very different story. The discs weren't ancient artifacts but relatively recent funerary objects, common in certain Tibetan burial practices. The spiral grooves turned out to be nothing more than ordinary tool marks from grinding or polishing. As for the so-called extraterrestrial hieroglyphs, linguistics experts confirmed they matched known regional scripts, not alien messages, while radiocarbon dating placed the stones no earlier than a few hundred years old. Even the cave's skeletal remains, often cited as proof of alien biology, were likely misidentified bones of Tibetan nomads, their elongated appearance the result of natural decomposition in high-altitude conditions. But why did the myth persist for decades? The answer lies in a perfect storm of Cold War-era sensationalism. The original Dropa story emerged not from peer-reviewed journals, but from a Russian tabloid called Sputnik magazine, known for blending science fiction with half-truths. By the time Western UFO enthusiasts latched onto it in the 1960s, key details had been exaggerated or invented wholesale, including the name Kai Pu-te, a researcher with no verifiable academic record. The story's longevity reveals less about ancient aliens and more about humanity's hunger for cosmic mysteries, especially when draped in the veneer of suppressed archaeology. What's fascinating isn't just the debunking, but the cultural footprint the hoax left behind. The Dropa myth spawned documentaries, novels, and even video games, embedding itself in pop culture despite being thoroughly discredited. In a twist of irony, the real scientific value of the stones lies not in alien fantasies, but in their actual use as Tibetan ritual objects, artifacts of a very human spiritual tradition. The lesson here isn't just about spotting fakes, it's about recognizing how easily we project our modern obsessions onto the past, turning ordinary artifacts into mirrors for our wildest imaginations. And that, perhaps, is the most human mystery of all. Tucked away in the Topkapi Palace Museum in Istanbul lies a map that should not exist, the Piri Reis chart drawn in 1513 by the Ottoman admiral whose name it bears. At first glance, it's a fascinating snapshot of 16th century cartography, showing Europe, Africa, and the newly discovered coasts of the Americas. But look closer and things get strange. The map includes landmasses that shouldn't have been visible to anyone in the 1500s, specifically the northern coastline of Antarctica, a continent that wouldn't be officially discovered for another 300 years. Even more baffling, the land is depicted ice-free, as if the cartographer had access to knowledge of a time when Antarctica wasn't buried under miles of glacial ice, a condition last seen millions of years before humans walked the Earth. Modern satellite imagery adds fuel to the fire. When researchers overlaid the Piri Reis map with sonar scans of Antarctica's subglacial topography, the coastlines matched with eerie precision. Mountain ranges hidden beneath the ice aligned with the map's contours, and river-like formations on the parchment mirrored known geological features. How could a 16th century navigator have known these details? Some theorists argue the map is evidence of a lost advanced civilization, perhaps the legendary Atlanteans who mapped the world before their knowledge was preserved in fragments by later cultures. Others point to annotations on the map itself, where Piri Reis credits earlier sources, including charts from the time of Alexander the Great and even the infidels of China, suggesting he compiled knowledge from disparate, now-vanished traditions. Skeptics offer a more mundane explanation. The southern landmass might not be Antarctica at all, but a distorted version of South America, a continent still poorly understood by Europeans at the time. Renaissance cartographers often filled gaps with speculative geography, and the map's southern coastline bears some resemblance to the stretched and misshapen depictions of Patagonia in other period maps. The ice-free detail could simply be artistic license or a misinterpretation of fog-shrouded coasts. Even the alignment with modern scans isn't perfect. Some sections veer wildly off course, hinting at coincidence rather than secret knowledge. But the mystery deepens when you consider what Piri Reis couldn't have known. The map accurately places the Amazon's river mouth before its official European discovery and shows the Andes Mountains despite no recorded European crossing of South America until decades later. Then there's the longitude problem. Determining east-west positions accurately required timekeeping technology that wouldn't exist for centuries, yet the map's continents are placed with surprising precision. The truth may lie in a mix of brilliance and luck. Piri Reis was a master synthesizer, weaving together Arab, European, and possibly older sources into a cohesive whole. Some of his errors might reflect now lost maps based on Polynesian or Arab voyages cultures with extensive but poorly documented exploration. The Antarctica controversy forces us to confront how much ancient knowledge has vanished, leaving only cryptic traces like this worn parchment. Whether it's a glimpse of prehistory or a cartographic Rorschach test, one thing is certain. The Piri Reis map remains a tantalizing enigma, daring us to question what we think we know about the past and who might have known it first. Scattered across the ruins of the Roman Empire, from England to Hungary, lie some of antiquity's most perplexing artifacts, the bronze dodecahedrons. These fist-sized objects, each with 12 pentagonal faces and circular holes of varying sizes, have baffled historians since the first was unearthed in 1739. With no surviving records or depictions in Roman art, their purpose became a playground for speculation until modern metallurgy and experimental archaeology began peeling back the layers of mystery. Laboratory analysis reveals tantalizing clues. The dodecahedrons weren't mass-produced but individually cast, with compositions ranging from tin-rich bronze to alloys mixed with lead, choices that hint at specialized functions. Some show wear patterns consistent with repetitive handling, while others bear marks suggesting they were mounted or suspended. Early theories proposed they were weapons or dice, but their delicate construction and lack of battlefield discoveries ruled this out. Then came a surprising hypothesis from textile historians. The hole's precise gradations match the finger spacing needed for intricate glove knitting. Replicas demonstrated how threading yarn through different holes could create consistent stitch sizes, turning the object into a portable loom for complex winter gear. Yet alternative theories hold equal weight. Archaeoastronomers note that when suspended, certain dodecahedrons align their holes with celestial events, solstice sunrises, or the positions of bright stars like Sirius. Roman military camps, where many were found, relied on precise timekeeping for watch rotations. Could these have been rudimentary calculators for night navigation? Others point to their spiritual significance. Several were discovered in graves or temple hoards alongside votive offerings, their geometric perfection echoing Platonic ideals of cosmic harmony. One excavated in Geneva still held traces of beeswax inside, perhaps used to scent sacred spaces or mark ritual timing through melting rates. The most compelling evidence comes from their distribution. Most dodecahedrons cluster near Roman frontiers, cold, northern regions where woolen crafts and celestial navigation were vital. Their absence from Mediterranean sites suggests a technology or tradition tailored to provincial needs, lost when the empire fractured. Modern craftsmen attempting to recreate them face another puzzle. The alloy mixtures vary wildly, implying localized production with no standard blueprint. Were they teaching tools for soldiers stationed abroad? Multi-purpose devices blending practicality and symbolism? What's undeniable is their sophistication. The dodecahedron's 12-faced symmetry required advanced geometric knowledge, the same principles later used in medieval astrolabes. Their persistence across 3 centuries of Roman rule speaks to a utility we're still piecing together. Like the Antikythera Mechanism, they remind us that the past's mysteries are often just gaps in our understanding, waiting for the right lens, whether metallurgy, astronomy, or hands-on experimentation, to bring their purpose back into focus. Perhaps their true genius lies in their versatility, serving as both winter survival tools and windows to the cosmos, proving that even the most enigmatic artifacts rarely fit into just one box. In the murky depths of the Baltic Sea, a sonar blip ignited one of the most heated underwater debates of the 21st century. During a routine dive in 2011, Swedish treasure hunters stumbled upon a structure so bizarre it defied immediate explanation: a 70-meter-wide cylindrical object with unnatural right angles and what appeared to be staircases descending into the seabed. The internet erupted with theories. Was this a crashed UFO, a Nazi anti-submarine device, or just a trick of geology? But the truth, revealed through years of rigorous scans and dives, proved even stranger than fiction. High-resolution sonar mapping showed the anomaly wasn't alone. It sat at the center of a 1,400-meter drag mark, as if something had skidded across the ocean floor before coming to rest. Divers reported electromagnetic interference near the site, their equipment malfunctioning as they approached, a phenomenon later confirmed by scientific instruments. Samples chipped from the structure revealed metals unlike typical seafloor deposits, including alloys of iron, manganese, and titanium in ratios rarely found in nature. Some sections even showed traces of limonite, a mineral often formed through intense heat fueling speculation about possible artificial origins, yet skeptics pointed to the Baltic's glacial history. During the last ice age, retreating glaciers carved bizarre formations into the bedrock, leaving behind rocks scoured into geometric shapes. The anomaly's staircase could be parallel grooves from glacial movement, while the electromagnetic effects might stem from natural mineral deposits interacting with underwater currents. Even the drag mark fits this theory. Icebergs calving from glaciers often plow furrows as they drift. But the plot thickened when marine archaeologists noted the object's proximity to known World War II naval routes. The Baltic was a graveyard for wartime technology, from sunken U-boats to discarded weapons. Could this be a lost Nazi sound mirror, an early radar prototype designed to detect enemy aircraft? Declassified documents revealed Germany tested such devices in the region, though none matched the anomaly's size. Others proposed it might be a damaged midget submarine or experimental mine, its metal warped by decades underwater. What makes the Baltic Sea anomaly so compelling isn't just the unanswered questions, but how it exposes the limits of our ocean knowledge. Less than 20% of the world's seabed has been mapped in detail, leaving countless structures waiting to challenge our assumptions. Every dive brings new data, yet the anomaly refuses to fit neatly into any category, geological, historical, or otherwise. Perhaps its greatest lesson is humility, reminding us that the deep remains Earth's last frontier, where the line between natural wonder and human artifact blurs beneath the waves. In the murky waters of Brazil's Guanabara Bay, a controversy ripples through the world of archaeology, a supposed Roman shipwreck, its presence threatening to rewrite the history of transatlantic contact. The story began in the 1980s when divers recovered ceramic jars and fragments of amphorae near Rio de Janeiro, their shapes strikingly similar to those used by ancient Roman traders. For decades, proponents of pre-Columbian transatlantic voyages pointed to these artifacts as smoking gun, evidence that Rome's merchant ships had reached Brazil long before Columbus. But modern sediment analysis and radiocarbon dating have plunged this theory into icy waters, revealing a far more plausible, if less sensational, truth. Take those infamous ceramic jars. Advanced petrographic analysis, a technique that examines mineral composition under polarized light, showed the clay didn't match known Roman sources. Instead, the material aligned with local Brazilian deposits, suggesting the jars were either colonial-era replicas or misidentified storage vessels from later Portuguese settlements. Then came the radiocarbon bombshell, organic residue inside the jars dated no earlier than the 17th century, a full millennium after Rome's collapse. Even the bay's sediment layers told a damning story. Core samples revealed no traces of lead pollution, a hallmark of Roman industry that should have lingered if their ships had indeed anchored here. But how did this myth persist so long? The answer lies in a mix of wishful thinking and selective interpretation. The amphory fragments, once hailed as unmistakably Roman, turned out to be far more generic under scanning electron microscopy. Their ribbed designs, while reminiscent of Roman craftsmanship, were also common in Mediterranean-inspired pottery made by later European colonists. Even the wreck's ancient appearance crumbled under scrutiny. Sonar scans showed the wooden remnants bore tool marks consistent with 16th century Portuguese shipbuilding, not Roman naval techniques. Perhaps the most compelling debunking came from an unexpected source: marine biology. Researchers studying mollusk colonies on the artifacts found species that only colonized shipwrecks in the last 500 years. These tiny hitchhickers, with lifespans tightly linked to ocean temperature cycles, couldn't have clung to a 2,000-year-old wreck. Their presence was a biological timestamp, placing the vessel firmly in the age of sail, not antiquity. What started as a tantalizing "what if" now stands as a cautionary tale about how easily artifacts can be misread outside their true context. The Guanabara Bay wreck isn't evidence of Roman seafaring prowess, it's a reminder that history requires more than surface resemblances. Every claim of pre-Columbian contact must withstand the rigorous cross-examination of sediment, chemistry, and biology. And in this case, science has spoken clearly. The Atlantic kept its secrets until the sails of the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria finally breached the horizon. Deep in the mines of South Africa's Wonderstone Formation, miners have unearthed peculiar objects that defy easy explanation: small, metallic spheres with fine grooves encircling their middles like seams on a baseball. Dubbed the Klerksdorp spheres, these artifacts date back an astonishing 3 billion years, to a time when Earth's landmasses were still forming and life existed only as single-celled organisms. At first glance, their symmetrical design screams intentional craftsmanship, fueling wild speculation about ancient advanced civilizations or even extraterrestrial visitors. But science has a habit of demystifying the seemingly supernatural, and microscopic analysis reveals a far more fascinating and earthly story. Under high-powered electron microscopes, the sphere's secrets begin to unravel. Their grooves, once thought to be precision-cut, show telltale signs of natural weathering, microscopic pitting, and irregular edges inconsistent with tool marks. X-ray diffraction confirms their composition. They're not manufactured metal, but pyrite and hematite, minerals that commonly form in spherical concretions when volcanic ash settles in ancient seabeds. The grooves, they're likely the result of differential erosion, where softer layers wear away faster than harder ones, leaving behind ridges that only appear meticulously carved. Even their perfect shapes have a mundane explanation. In nature, surface tension often molds particles into spheres, just as raindrops form round shapes as they fall. Yet the most compelling evidence against the out-of-place artifact theory comes from their geological context. The spheres are always found embedded in Precambrian strata, layers untouched by any known human activity. Isotopic dating places their formation squarely in an era when plate tectonics were just beginning to shape the planet. There's also the sheer abundance of them. Thousands have been recovered, scattered across multiple sites, making it statistically implausible that they're the work of some lost civilization. But why do these objects continue to captivate? Part of it lies in their eerie resemblance to modern technology. Some grooved spheres look uncannily like miniature versions of orbital satellites, playing into our tendency to see familiar patterns where none exist, a psychological glitch called pareidolia. Another layer is the human love for mystery. We're wired to question, to wonder if history might hold surprises that upend our understanding. The Klerksdorp spheres tap into that desire, even as science steadily unpacks their origins. What's truly remarkable isn't that these spheres defy natural explanation, it's that they don't. They're a testament to the extraordinary artistry of geology itself, a reminder that nature needs no blueprint to create forms that seem engineered. From the hexagonal pillars of the Giant's Causeway to the Fibonacci spirals of seashells, our planet has always been a sculptor of uncanny precision. The grooved spheres aren't outliers, they're part of a continuum, proof that reality is often stranger and more beautiful than the myths we project onto it. Weighing in at a staggering 75 kilograms and stretching nearly a meter tall, the Codex Gigas isn't just a book. It's a behemoth of parchment and legend, earning its nickname, the Devil's Bible, for reasons that leap right off its pages. Created in the early 13th century within the walls of a Bohemian monastery, this massive tome contains the complete Latin Bible, historical chronicles, medical formulas, and even exorcism rites, all penned by a single scribe in unsettlingly uniform handwriting. But it's the infamous full-page illustration of the devil himself, horns curled and skin glowing crimson, that's fueled centuries of dark folklore. Legend claims the manuscript was crafted in a single night by a doomed monk who'd made a pact with Satan to save himself from being walled up alive as punishment. While science can't confirm the supernatural, cutting-edge spectral imaging has uncovered something equally astonishing: traces of a hidden past literally scrubbed from the parchment. Multispectral analysis reveals ghostly letters beneath the visible text, entire passages scraped away and overwritten, a common practice in medieval times when parchment was scarce. But here's where it gets eerie. Some erased sections appear near the devil portrait, with faint ink residues matching penitential psalms. Did a later scribe attempt to cleanse the manuscript of unholy associations, or were these edits meant to obscure controversial content? The technology also exposed subtle differences in ink composition, hinting that multiple hands might have touched the manuscript despite its eerily consistent script, a revelation that complicates the lone scribe myth. Even the devil's portrait hides secrets. Infrared reflectography shows underdrawings where the figure originally held a different pose, as if the artist reconsidered how to depict the Prince of Darkness mid-creation. Then there's the sheer physicality of the codex. Its 310 parchment leaves, made from the skins of roughly 160 donkeys, were deliberately arranged with thicker hides on the exterior, a clever preservation technique. Analysis of wormhole patterns suggests the book spent centuries stored closed, protecting its inner pages, but the most haunting detail emerges from the parchment itself. Folklore claims the monk used ink mixed with his own blood, and while science dismisses this, protein residue tests did detect traces of animal blood in the binding glue, perhaps a macabre coincidence that only deepened the legend. What makes the Codex Gigas so captivating isn't just its size or the devil lurking in its margins, it's the tension between myth and material evidence. Spectral imaging strips away centuries of speculation, yet the book retains its aura of mystery. Was it a desperate monk's redemption project, a communal effort disguised as a single hand? Or something else entirely? Every scan page whispers the same truth. Some histories aren't just written, they're buried, waiting for light to reveal what the ink chose to hide. Standing like a silent army across the French countryside, the Karnak stones have guarded their secrets for over 6,000 years. This sprawling field of nearly 3,000 megaliths stretches over 4 kilometers, arranged in eerily precise rows that seem to march toward some forgotten horizon. For centuries, locals whispered that these stones were Roman soldiers petrified by a sorcerer, or perhaps the work of giants who walked the earth before recorded history. But modern archaeology is replacing folklore with something equally captivating, a story written not in myth but in the language of astronomy and territorial power. Ground-penetrating radar has peeled back the layers of mystery, revealing that the alignments aren't random. Certain rows point directly to the sunrise during the summer and winter solstices, acting as a colossal calendar carved into the landscape. Even more intriguing, subsurface scans uncovered buried stones beneath the visible ones, suggesting the site was expanded over generations, each addition refining its celestial precision. Some researchers argue these weren't just markers of time, but of territory, a boundary system for Neolithic clans, their sheer scale a warning to rival groups. The tallest stones, some towering 4 meters high, cluster near what would have been fertile land or fresh water, hinting at a practical function beneath their spiritual veneer. Local legends add another layer to the puzzle. Breton folklore speaks of the Corrigans, fairy-like beings said to move the stones at night, their magic woven into the megalith's alignment. Scientists might dismiss this as superstition, but ethnographers note how these tales often encode ancestral knowledge, like the way certain myths accurately describe tsunamis or eclipses long before science could explain them. Perhaps the Corrigan stories preserve a fragmented memory of the stone's builders, their purpose distorted by time but never entirely erased. Preservation efforts now walk a tightrope between protection and exploration. Acid rain and lichen threaten the granite surfaces, while decades of foot traffic have compacted the soil around the bases, risking instability. Archaeologists use non-invasive techniques like LiDAR and 3D photogrammetry to study the site without touching it, creating digital twins that let researchers worldwide visit the stones virtually. Some sections remain off-limits entirely, their secrets preserved for future technologies we can't yet imagine. What emerges from the data is a portrait of a society far more sophisticated than once thought. The Karnak stones aren't just monoliths, they're a Neolithic blueprint, mapping the heavens while anchoring a community to its land. Their builders left no written language, no grand monuments beyond these sentinels of stone. Yet through radar and satellite imaging, we're beginning to hear their voices across 6 millennia, not in words, but in alignments that still catch the first light of the solstice sun, just as they were meant to. From the celestial gears of the Antikythera Mechanism to the silent watchfulness of the Karnak stones, these 25 mysteries showcase something extraordinary, not just the enigmas themselves, but the relentless innovation that cracked them open. Each breakthrough rewrites history, proving that the past isn't a static record but a living puzzle, waiting for the right tools to reveal its secrets. Think about it, a Roman dodecahedron gathering dust in a museum might seem insignificant until a textile historian sees a knitting tool, or a grooved sphere in South Africa transforms from an alien artifact into a masterpiece of natural geology. Science doesn't just solve mysteries, it reshapes our entire understanding of human ingenuity, showing us that ancient civilizations were often far more advanced than we ever imagined. But here's the thrilling part: we're nowhere near finished. For every mystery unraveled, another lingers in the shadows. The Phaistos disk's cryptic symbols remain untranslated. The Baltic Sea anomaly defies categorization, and the Voynich Manuscript's pages still guard their secrets. Who knows what breakthroughs tomorrow's technology will bring? Maybe quantum computing will decode lost languages, or advanced ground-penetrating radar will uncover hidden chambers beneath the Great Pyramid. The beauty of history is that it's always evolving, always surprising us with fresh revelations that overturn centuries of assumptions. Now it's your turn. Which of these mysteries fascinates you the most? Do you think we'll ever crack the code of the Dropa stones, or will the Dendera light bulb remain an eternal debate? Drop your theories in the comments, and if you're hungry for more deep dives into history's greatest puzzles, hit that subscribe button. Together, we'll keep exploring the crossroads where science and the past collide, because one thing's certain: the next jaw-dropping discovery is just waiting to be unearthed. Until then, keep questioning, keep wondering, and never stop looking for the hidden stories etched into the fabric of time.